if you have gone out to a restaurant lately, you've probably noticed higher menu prices. And that's because inflation is now hitting the restaurant industry, leading many to raise prices in order to survive. That is on top of unprecedented labor and food shortages. For more on this, let's go to RT correspondent Saya Tavenger, who is following the story. Saya, how is this all impacting the restaurant business?
Well, Manila, one of the industries hit the hardest during the pandemic were restaurants. We all saw those going out of business signs at some of our favorite restaurants across the nations. Now, the ones that have survived, like the major steakhouse in Washington, D.C., right behind me, they're now facing a triple whammy. The cost of raw ingredients has gone up very high. Now, the labor market, they're extremely short-staffed, and the supply chain, now they're still suffering from the pandemic. Now, food costs in particular have gone up historically as vendors struggle to find workers. Now, as a result, the year-over-year for restaurant food prices are up 5%. Now, that's the highest since 2009. And when restaurants end up paying a lot more for food prices, guess who ends up paying a lot more as well? The customer. Now, for example, pork prices are up 6% because slaughterhouses, they just can't find enough workers to process the animals. Now, the same goes for the cattle industry, which is why beef and veal prices are up 5%. Now, the poultry industry, they are no exception. Their prices are up 4%. And for restaurants, the high production costs combined with rising meat prices create another major dilemma. Should they either stop selling this higher price meat cuts, charge customers a lot more, or endure financial loss with no guarantee when these prices are actually going to stabilize? And Manila, it's not just full service restaurants or fine dining that's being impacted. Fast food chains across the country are also facing increased food prices and also shortages in staff. Now, here are the four that are being impacted the most. Chipotle, they announced that they're raising their prices by 4% to fund the new $15 an hour for their staff. But Chipotle price hike isn't nearly as steep as some of these other chains. Now, if you're making a daily stop at Dunkin' for your morning coffee, you'll also notice that you're paying a lot more there. And that's because they've increased their prices by 8% as they also struggle to find workers just to keep their restaurants open. And remember those dollar menus at McDonald's? Well, don't expect to see those anytime soon. McDonald's is also facing a major staff shortage, and they're doing whatever they can to keep their doors open, which means they're giving a higher wage to their workers, and in turn, they've increased their prices by 8%. Now, meanwhile, Taco Bell, they had some of the highest price surges. Their prices are up now 10% because they're having a hard time finding ingredients and staff. And already, restaurants are typically operate a very razor-thin margin in order to make any kind of profit at all. So now this combined just creates another problem for them, Manila.
Boy, that's always tough for us, the consumer, who love some Taco Bell. All right, Saya Tavenger, thank you so much for that update.
Shropshire this morning, having noticed a number of fields have gone from being absolutely fantastic crops to basically dead fields. We've just come across this field of broad bean. So this is not a small field. This field is absolutely ready, or it was. You can just get the camera on there. So, but again, we've got an entire crop that has been destroyed. We're going to take it back to the lab and we're going to find out what this crop has been sprayed with. But I reckon we're looking at least a 55-acre field here of broad bean that, instead of it being harvested, has deliberately been killed off. Don't know the reason. I assume it's part of the agenda, but just keep an eye, folks. Just keep an eye on the fields. because something is actually happening, and I'm not impressed. I don't know a farmer that would deliberately destroy a crop, because it costs money to do this. So the only reason you've killed the crop off is because somebody's paid you to do it. There is no disease here. This was a perfectly healthy, harvestable crop, yet it has now been destroyed.
This is Dabu 7. It has begun in terms of the limiting on certain items here in the United States, and this is something that people should pay very close attention to. I have been repeatedly telling you week after week that the records are getting shattered at the ports on the West Coast. Items are being left sitting out there in the water on the docks by design. We are getting choked off right in front of your face by the regime controlling things. Now, we have companies here in this country saying that they're limiting people buying certain items. You're talking your toilet papers, waters, other key items that people are going to need. And there was no big announcement, like the beginning of this whole thing back in 2020 when it went into motion. It's just people, all in all, starting to see that we're heading into winter and wanting to get those supplies, and they're seeing that the supplies are now thin. Now that there's some chaos starting to kick up, the companies are now limiting the items. So I don't know what to say when we've been screaming to get ready for all this time. All the people that are going to go out there and find empty shelves. Hey, we told you over and over and over again to get your stuff in order. So now it's going to be a mad dash to see if certain supplies can be found by people. Now that's just everybody panic buying. Now when they turn around and see that they're screaming to get ready for all this time, all the people that are going to go out there and find empty shelves. Hey, we told you over and over and over again to get your stuff in order. So now it's going to be a mad dash to see if certain supplies can be found by people. Now that's just in talking about supplies. They're telling people in the UK and in the US to stop panic buying, but that's not going to stop everybody from panic buying. Now when they turn around and see that the meat prices are going through the roof, they're going to remain there. The beef down 7.7% from last year. Poultry down 20%. Pork down 44% from last year. And do not forget that one of the biggest, if not the biggest, pork production places in the United States is controlled by China. So, I'm going to break this down further on what this means. This is not good. You better alert your friends and family to start making moves ASAP and start getting stocked up for this winter ASAP. And they're already telegraphing once again those words that Biden was using. Dark winter. I'm going to break this down further on the next live stream. Make sure to join me. We're live tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, only on DLive.
In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, I command you.
This is Dabu 7, looking at the supply chain chaos that is happening around the globe. And this looks to be something that is heavily orchestrated here. It looks like a lot of the world leadership is in on this, and a lot of the goods coming out of China, getting snagged out there first. Once they do get to the United States, they have to sit in queue. And then if they do get unloaded, some of those containers are just sitting in areas. Mountains of containers are stacking up, like in Chicago. We have witnessed the West Coast ports of the United States see an increase of boats that are just sitting in the water. They have now shattered a record. Just a couple weeks ago, it was at 40. They were talking about the record. Here just yesterday, as we had seen, it was at 61 and potentially still climbing as of today. A record amount of boats just sitting in the water off the coast of California. And everyone wonders where their goods are. It's because of the scam that you're at. That's what this whole thing was. We're being choked off. Can you not see this? That's what's happening by design. Okay? And so that you know, when it comes to sending these 40-foot containers across the ocean, it used to cost right around $2,000. Today, it's as much as 25 grand. You don't think leadership doesn't know this? You don't think things could be done to fix this? Oh yeah, they could be. It's because of who is in control of all this and running the show. I'm going to break this down further on the live streams. Make sure to join me as I go live this coming Friday. It's going to be a big show. Hope to see you guys there. You'll find links below in the description.
Reports that Genco Shipping president. There are new reports that Genco Shipping president and CEO John Wobensmith, who spoke with Bloomberg recently, is warning that the cost of dry goods shipping is about to go, and I'm quoting here, parabolic, as limited vessel capacity and robust demand sends everything from soap to shoes into skyrocketing levels of inflation that we have not seen before. According to the report, Wobensmith had the following warning. I think rates can go higher from here, he says. You do get to a point, and you've seen this in containers, where you can hit a certain utilization rate, and you start to go parabolic on these rates. I think we're getting close to that period, he warns. He said, fundamentally, you've got demand outstripping supply growth, adding that freight agreements are above $20,000 for 1Q, a level not seen seasonally in a decade. You have to get ready for the financial crisis that is about to strip all of the wealth that you may have accrued. That could be $100 savings, that could be $100,000 savings. No matter what you have, and everything in the middle is getting stripped away by this financial crisis. And everything that you can do to get ready for it is something that is going to get you ahead of the curve. The images that I'm about to show you right now, the ones that I'm seeing in the Midwest, are truly apocalyptic. It's out of a movie, but the reality is that much worse. Entire crops that are meant to bring food to your table, everything from wheat to the crops that feed the animals that you will be eating in the future, are being wasted. They are being torn apart. Entomologists and farmers are warning that there will be massive shortages and quality issues this season as individual operations suffer across the entire country. A specific type of pest that some say only come in these types of numbers every 1,000 years. The infestation is so intense that they say millions of pounds of food are at risk. I want you to look at this image from one of the farmers. For scale, you can see the giant mower blades that go onto the back of large industrial tractors there. These blades are usually 5 to 6 feet in width, and the insects are there for as long as the eyes can see. It has actually, this animal has typically up to 300 different types of plants that they feed on. When they come like this, in 1,000 year cycles, let's call it what it is. It's a plague. And that plague is going to cause shortages across the United States of America. We're already seeing, if you just scan through social media for things like bad fruit or spoiled fruit or something like gnats inside, you already know the quality difference that you're suffering right now. You already know that your prices are up, your quality is down, and your availability is down. They're bringing more than ever pests and spoiled food to.
Depression can be a really tough thing to go through. Fortunately, people always have a lot of ideas.
The tables of American citizens right now. You just wait until these apocalyptic, truly apocalyptic scenes play out. Until entire regions of the United States of America cannot grow their corn, their tomatoes. You wait until that starts to hit the supply chain, and you will breathe easily because you saw what was coming. You saw the warning signs, and you put away some extra rice. You put away extra popcorn. Popcorn, to me, is the #1 preparedness item that you should start getting. Economists are warning that a contagion is going to take place in the international markets after the second largest shareholder in Evergrande, the Chinese organization, sold its stake and left the group completely. The directors, they say, are cautious and concerned about the recent development, including certain disclosures made by Evergrande Group on its liquidity. For anybody who thinks that this isn't going to affect the American markets, they don't remember just a few, or what seems like a few years ago, when Lehman's shook the entire world. Just because you don't have stake in another market doesn't mean it's not going to affect it. And because this Evergrande Group has international shareholders and $300 billion worth of problems, it is going to have far-reaching consequences across the entire market. With $305 billion in liabilities, Evergrande is struggling to meet its debt obligations, and investors worry that the rot is going to spread to creditors, including banks abroad. Don't listen to some internet guru who wants to tell you, no, it's a good time to buy stocks, don't worry about Evergrande, or who wants to tell you it's a great time to buy Bitcoin. Doesn't matter that China is shutting it down completely. Listen to your own discernment. Grab information, look it over, and make decisions, and then accept the consequences and responsibilities if you made the wrong decision. But do it with a good heart, full of intelligence, not just listening to somebody else. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody. Go out there and find the information yourself. That way it's your fault if you make the wrong move. This is going to affect the international marketplace. It is going to drive another stake in this financial crisis coffin, and it is going to make everything from the price of your food go up to the price of shipping things from China to America increase. We are going to see consequences from this, and it's going to not just be in the housing or real estate market. Chinese shares of Chinese estates jumped as much as 15% in early trading. It's just like the economists were starting to warn that these houses are never going to get built. And so the houses that are already built are going to be worth more money. Chinese Estates, which owns about 6% of Evergrande's equity capital as of September 10th, according to one data group, said that it mandated a sale of all or part of the remaining 5.66%. I had a call-in from yesterday, a write-in on email. Says, Brad and Kelly, this is from Steven. I've always thought that hard work was the answer to everything, but I was wrong. Recently at my manufacturing job, the owner was telling us how he was off for a month to vacation to different places around the world. Isn't that nice? This is while I was thinking of walking to work to save money on gas. At my previous job, which working full-time, I still qualified for assistance, the owner was building new garages to house his antique car collection. My point of this is, I didn't want to believe you, but I do now. I wish you...
It's perfect.
Ring Central. Message, video, phone. Together.
And your family the best, Steven. And he says, please omit my, my full name there. We are seeing this across the board. We are watching the divide between the haves and the have-nots. And the problem is there's many more have-nots, and they're getting mad. They're getting very angry at the position that they've been placed into because their back is literally against the wall. They have to work 14 to 20 years out of their 80-year lifetime not to get ahead.